Yeah, a lot of these videos of me being critical of different shows and movies tends to be always negative because there's so much bad. Even ones that I like, there's like, well, it could have been better, stuff like that. But got to point out things that are pretty damn good. And a lot of the response to the latest versions of Star Trek with Discovery and now Picard was constantly one could refer back to not just the Orville, which is an obvious, which presented as a parody and actually became more Star Trek than Star Trek, but the other one that's a serious approach to science fiction and is really at the top of its game was The Expanse. Now this was, strangely enough, for 3 seasons on the Sci-Fi Channel. And it was quite good. It was often referred to as the Game of Thrones of science fiction, and in a lot of ways there are some parallels there. It's the ensemble cast there. There's no real leading star. Even the main, I suppose, hero, the captain of the crew that you follow through with, is not really the central character here. They all have their parts to play and all that, and that's similar to Game of Thrones. Also, there is this sort of creeping thing of, it shows you a society within the star system, our star system, that it seems credible. It seems like that's probably how it would be if we achieve space travel and colonize Mars and the moon and the asteroid belt and that sort of thing. Mining those and whatnot. It's all very in depth of what theories about what could be possible of having a human society in space that's within reach. And that's what's really cool about it. Most of the sci-fi stuff, it tries to be Star Wars or Star Trek. Those are the two models for the most part. Whereas here, the only thing I can recall would be the Outland movie, which actually, I don't know who owns the rights to that, but you could make a series out of that, which is sort of like Gunsmoke in space, But all that's well thought out, and it's the character development and everything. But the similarities with Game of Thrones comes in where it had the mystery of the proto-molecule, which is this cool way of introducing alien life. And it's not, someone with a rubber forehead showing up or CGI monsters or whatever, but at least not yet. But there's humans transformed, I suppose, so you get to any kind of strange creatures in this series. For the most part, it's all about people and struggling to live in this society they created, and it was all very well done and looked great. I don't know what their budget was, but it looked cool. And also a realistic approach to spacecraft, which these aren't sexy spaceships. Star Trek's got them beaten that. Well, at least original Star Trek and Star Wars. But the ships, they're they're just sort of these blocks and stuff, but that's probably the spaceships would be kind of boring. They wouldn't be very sexy to look at. But it all fits, and it's that approach to realism. Now, I'm sure people who are in the know, physicists and whatever, say, well, they got this wrong, they got that wrong. But stuff like that, you can expect. But for the most part, as far as science fiction goes, The Expanse is it. And they've got it down pat. Unfortunately, they didn't have the ratings enough, and they were canceled from Sci-Fi. But then, surprise, Amazon showed up and saved them. And now there's a new 4th season on Amazon Prime, and I am incredibly embarrassed to admit that I took forever to check it out. So I did. Now, Amazon is following the Netflix what is it, modus operandi, I guess, of how they put their shows out there all at once. So it's, Gary Beekler of Nerdrotic said that's probably a mistake. It's kind of better to gain interest and have people waiting for the next episode. They binge it all and then they quickly forget about it. So I just watched the first episode. So I did that, and then I'll watch the next one, and then I'll talk about that. Now, so the first episode is New Terra. The way the series ended, you had that, what was all the proto-molecule about, where was this going and all that. And then so now they've got these, I guess, portals that opens to another side of the galaxy, I suppose, and there's these new planets. And the problems that they're having with this new human society is they don't really have the space anymore. You know, they're crowded on these asteroids, and they're people who've only lived in space. They've never been on Earth, and all of that sort of stuff. And that's another, boy, I tell you, the science fiction here is just pretty top notch. They deal with the problems of gravity and not being attuned to it. And in this episode, you deal with this, where one of the main characters, she has to go through these treatments and whatnot because she's never been on a planet. She's lived on asteroid belts her whole life, and she's going to this new planet, and she has to take all these incredibly painful injections, and then has to exercise rather vigorously to build up her muscle tone, and all that's pretty accurate. I don't know what kind of treatments you could take. Maybe they mentioned it, I didn't catch it. But, and this, of course, could be some futuristic concoction they have that can help your muscle, bulk up more. And so she's got to work out. Even when she gets there, she's still, weak and facing gravity. But it's the first time she's ever set foot on a planet. And they do it very well. And she's a fully realized character. There's depth and development and all that. You don't get any of that from Star Trek. Not really. It's just slapped on there, and Discovery it's just appalling to even mention it in the same name with this show. So the interesting thing is you're exploring this new mystery, this world, and there are, of course, the same old fights that they've had, the divisions that have cropped up between the different societies. They're fighting over who gets to it. They weren't even supposed to go there, but they did. And now, there's something mysterious happening. Well, of course. The odd thing about it is when Sci-Fi canceled it, I was bummed about it, but at the same time, the way it ended, that's not a bad ending. It leaves it open. Well, they've got their new worlds, and maybe it'll work out. You don't know. There's still mystery and the unknown of what the proto-molecule is and all that, but you still got a pretty good idea. And to reach this, what would alien life be like, and how would it communicate with us? And it's something it's alien. You wouldn't know. Most of our alien stuff is just weird versions of ourselves, because that's all we got to go on. So this is a really interesting, fascinating take of how contact with an alien intelligence or what have you would be. And we still don't know what that's about. We don't really know. Meanwhile, Miller is still there. Is it Miller, or is it just his consciousness recorded by the proto-molecule? And only Holden can see and hear him, which some kind of something is in him. So that he can communicate with it. It's not his magical friend. He's not going crazy. And there's more interest there, where we're seeing more of, they give you a bit of a tease here that we're seeing more of Miller's viewpoint, or whatever, or Proto-Miller, I guess, and what he's out for. And he's wanting him to go there. Something's up, we'll see. That's the mystery. That's what unfolds. But, of course, not all goes well when they arrive on the planet. There's some strange attack, and there's this like swarm of rocks attacks them. And one of the ships that introduced new characters, they were arriving on the planet for begin their new lives, and then the rocks hit, and it rips the ship apart. And some of them, there was these two women holding hands, and all of a sudden she realized she wasn't holding her hand anymore, and she got ripped out of the ship, and it was really bad. And so they're all very paranoid and spiteful. They were not supposed to go there anyway. They tried to stop them for getting there and all this sort of thing. And then this happened, so they suspect some sort of sabotage, someone attacked them, and all this stuff. And so Holden and crew are sent over there to try to figure out what's going on and hopefully, calm things down and all of that. So that's the setup of where you get the planet in and of itself. Doesn't look all that impressive to me, but you got to start somewhere. So they're working on that. But anyway, it's a good setup for where they are and how things happened, and the story is continuing on. And of course, you've got these well-developed characters, and it's just good. It's just so damn good. And their relationships are believable. The romances are believable. It's all well paced out. and so on and so forth. So, and it looks like more relationships are developing. Mr. Experience. They got to get Bobby back in there. She's stuck back on this being a civilian, but that she's not going to be able to survive doing that. They got to get her back in action and back in her Iron Man suit, maybe. I don't know. But there you go. It's a great series. You need to check it out, especially if you're a fan of science fiction and real science fiction, not just science can be magic. No, you've got to explain these things. And developing theories that we don't really know or can come true, but as best of the best guess one can get, and you can explore that for story purposes, and that's what they've done here. As for the rings and all that, well, okay. But it's superior technology and whatnot, and intelligences that are older than our own could have figured this stuff out, so they open these portals or wormholes. I don't know. But all good stuff, and it's going somewhere. It's a new development of an area. When I mentioned something like Outland, that would be more like an episodic thing where you've got this marshal in space, and that's about it. He'd be dealing with bad guys, and you wouldn't need this ongoing arc, and I wouldn't introduce alien life in that. But in this show, which gives you this whole new concept of how that could happen, and in a way that you couldn't really predict. And so it's an interesting exploration and truly alien, and something you just don't even understand, and the difficulties of trying to bridge that. And they're obviously trying, however this works, and they're going with the impression that whoever it was is long gone, they're dead, and perhaps they died in a conflict as well, and somehow this is left here for this, and this is just a recording within the proto-molecule. But it could be they're not as dead as you think. Who knows? But that's the whole point. Well, keep watching. We'll find out. But so yeah, good stuff. Well done, and deserves far more attention than I think it gets. And so I guess this is my little part in doing so. So check out the Expanse. Of course, they have all the original series. So you can binge them if you wish. I'm not binging this one. I'm going to watch it one at a time. But it's all available there on Amazon Prime. So do check out The Expanse. Thank you for watching and listening. Please like and subscribe, and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores that have plenty of goodies for you, including the link to IndiePlanet.com, where you can pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. And you can catch my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, over at RadioMisfits.com. New episodes every Saturday. And you can catch my videos also over at BitChute. That's the Mr Nailsin channel at BitChute.com.